We're on foot in the heart of Paris, making our way to Notre Dame Cathedral, the most visited monument in the city. While we attempt Paris by an electric bike, we soon discover on a busy summer day, Paris is best explored on foot. Otherwise, you might miss being serenaded by all the talented fiddlers that are playing from morning to night. The name Notre Dame means Our Lady in French, and it is the most famous and one of the first of the Gothic cathedrals of the Middle Ages. Peering at the high arches from top to bottom, I am thankful that the facade and towers were saved from the fire last year. But I am sad that the beacon of Paris will not be open for years to come, and we will not be able to climb up the spiral staircases, 387 steps to the bell towers to get a close view of the gargoyles. But Notre Dame is famous for many reasons, including for being at the center of major historical events, such as in 1431, Britain's King Henry VI was crowned King of France in this cathedral, and the coronation of French Emperor Napoleon I was also here. Despite the circumstances, it's still romantic to marvel at Notre Dame's beauty and to be here in the square at Paris Point Zero, which marks the exact center of the city or country, where all other locations are thought to be measured as a distance radiating from this point. We are now leaving the small island in the Seine River and walking what seems nearly halfway across the city to the Louvre Museum, which was at first a watchtower used by the Franks to attack the island of La Cité in the 5th century. Arguably the most famous museum in the world, but definitely the biggest museum in the world. The building dates back to 1190. The Louvre is another World Heritage Site. Actually, it seems like all of Paris is a World Heritage Site. Originally built as a grand fortress in Paris, the Louvre was later turned into a royal palace in the 16th century before becoming a museum in 1793. It takes about 100 days to see all the art in the Louvre Museum, as there is an estimated 380,000 pieces of art inside of the Louvre, but only 35,000 of them are actually out for public display. Nevertheless, the biggest attraction here is one of the most famous paintings in the world, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Although I have no complaints because I love the ancient Egyptian pyramids, the glass pyramid structures seem a little out of place here at the Louvre. But the pyramids are considered the masterpiece and were opened in 1989. The pyramids are actually the newest entrance to the Louvre Museum, which is underground. It's interesting to note that while Napoleon was in power, he renamed the Louvre to the Napoleon Museum. Napoleon's exploits in Egypt are definitely reflected in this area, and on that note, we are just a short walk to the Place de la Concorde and its 3,300-year-old obelisk, brought from Egypt's Luxor Temple in 1833. But not before we encounter live bird art. Hopefully the dye is non-toxic. We're off to one of the major squares in Paris, Place de la Concorde. It's at the eastern end of the Champs-Élysées. It's where the guillotine was placed and was the site of many notable public executions. The center of the place is also occupied by a giant Egyptian obelisk, decorated with hieroglyphics exalting the reign of the pharaoh Ramses II. And on each side of the obelisk are two monumental fountains that were designed during the reign of King Louis Philippe. It is near this site where the execution of King Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, and thousands of others were beheaded during the French Revolution. Now it's time to hail a cab as we head down the famous boulevard Champs-Élysées, one of the most recognizable avenues in the world, which ends at another famous monument in Paris, the Arc de Triomphe, where we are headed to next. The Arc de Triomphe was built to honor the victories of Napoleon Bonaparte, and it is located at the historic Axis. a sequence of monuments and grand thoroughfares on a route running from the courtyard of the Louvre to the Grand Arch. This is also where the famous Tour de France ends. It's brutally hot seeing Paris by day, so I am grateful we are off to our must-see last stop, the Eiffel Tower. But it seems like the place to be is in front of the Eiffel Tower, taking a dip in the fountain. The Eiffel Tower was meant to be the entrance to the 1889 World Fair and was supposed to come down 20 years later. Well, now it's the Iron Lady's 130th birthday and is now the most valuable monument in all of Europe, as it is worth over $400 billion. The Eiffel Tower took only 2 years to build and is made of 18,000 pieces of puddle iron, a type of wrought iron used in its construction, and 2.5 million rivets. When Hitler came to power, he ordered that the Eiffel Tower be torn down. Yeah, whatever.